What's up, people? Welcome to another exciting edition of the Black and Gold Hour podcast. It's your boy Merv. It's your boy Mike, man. Thank you for coming back on the show, bro. Thank you for taking time to come in on this Saturday and kind of help me discuss the latest news with the New Orleans Saints, man. How you doing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nobody else I'd rather do it with. And I'm doing good, man. Doing good. We got a lot of news to talk about today.
Appreciate you, bro, man. It's a lot to talk about, man. It's kind of one of those weeks where you're starting to hear comments and different feelings about the offseason. We kind of talked about this last week. The New Orleans Saints, it kind of depends on like what you think about the New Orleans Saints at this point after 5 years of kind of almost making it. How do you feel about the New Orleans Saints, Jameis Winston, and Dennis Allen going forward? So I do have to touch on all of that today. But we got to start with the most important news of the week, Malcolm Jenkins. We know what he means to the New Orleans Saints. We know what he means to the NFL. And we know what he means for social justice, man. And he was part of that 2009 squad. And we know what Malcolm Jenkins means as a football player. We know what he brings, to the team, that leadership, that hustle, hard hitting. He wasn't always the best in coverage, but he made plays and he was a playmaker. And he was a playmaker off the field as well with social justice initiatives, one of the most vocal members in the NFL. And I always kind of find it's very dope when like players who have millions, who have sponsorships are willing to put their name on the line for something much bigger than themselves and their family. And he really was a voice and one of the biggest voices, if not the biggest voice in the NFL for the last few years about a lot of social initiatives, especially ones that help. And he's a voice of the unheard. He helps women, speaks on women's rights. He speaks on Black rights in America. He speaks on different social initiatives that the NFL has the power to change. And I like seeing that. So, bro, I got to ask you, like, what did Malcolm Jenkins mean to you as a Saints fan?
Yeah, I think you just touched on like what he means to a lot of people and to me and everything like that. But most definitely, I mean, Malcolm Jenkins not only is just a fantastic football player, but I mean, he's just a great dude. You know what I mean? Like he's a dude that could run for president and probably do a damn good job at it. You know what I mean? like I just love how he's just always kind of been like not just a leader of the team, but like a guy who's always led by example. He's like a Demario Davis on the Saints as well. They both are very good at leading by example. A lot of leaders in the NFL just like to just talk and get the whole crowd amped up and then don't do shit on the field. But, our boy Malcolm, man, he would lead by example. He'd pop somebody and then let you know that he popped you, all that good stuff. But, man, his retirement really kind of sucked, man. I was having a rough day. And then I saw that and I was like, okay, this is even worse now. Here we go. And it kind of stinks that, I mean, obviously everybody kind of, is on their own timetable, but it just kind of stinks that he kind of waited this long into the offseason to announce it.
Mm-hmm.
But also it's like, like I said, everyone has their own timetable. We got Daniel Sorensen now. But I know we'll touch on it. But no, Malcolm Jenkins is a great dude. He means the world to New Orleans. He means the world to Philadelphia, and he means the world to the world, honestly.
Right. And a player like that, when they leave the NFL, there's only greatness ahead and in store for him. So I can't wait to see like what he does next. Like his career on the field was important, but his career off the field is probably going to be much more impactful. So I can't wait to see like what he does. But the safety position, the New Orleans Saints, we felt strong with it. We got CD Deuce. We had Marcus Williams. Marcus Williams turned out to be he is one of the best safeties in the NFL, and we lost him to the Ravens. And the Saints recently signed Daniel Sorensen, and you brought him up. Came from the Chiefs, so he understands the concept of winning. And the New Orleans Saints culture right now is a winning culture for barring most things. So let me ask you. A lot of Saints fans were up in arms about Daniel Sorensen, and I know you were one of the people that was you were campaigning that, hey guys, this is actually a great signing. So I'm not gonna speak. You tell me, like, what do you think about the Daniel Sorensen signing?
Man, oh my god, that tweet, bro. I regret sending that tweet sometimes. No, but for real, it really is a good signing. So at the time we had Malcolm Jenkins, so it made the
Hmm.
tweet look a heck of a lot better than it does now.
Hmm.
But um, but yeah, I think he's a good signing, and because I know Daniel Sorensen is not going to be our starting safety going into the year. It's not going to happen. We're either going to draft somebody or we could pick up somebody else, like a Tyrique Matthews is still on the table, things
Right.
like that. There's still options available. Daniel Sorensen is not going to be our starting safety. So what I'm about to say still applies to what I meant when I sent that tweet, if that
Right.
makes sense. So when I sent that tweet, it was saying that Daniel Sorensen is the kind of move you make whenever you're contending for a Super Bowl. And it's true. And here's why. So, for example, if it's kind of similar to, I know it's different, but it's kind of similar to like when the Rams went out and traded for Odell after they already had Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee, all these
Right.
pass catchers. You know what I mean? It's similar to that. Same with like when they brought in Sony Michel, they go and they win a Super Bowl. They have a good running back already. They have good receivers already, but they went and they got better at the position. Daniel Sorensen is better than our backup safety right now. You can't tell me he's not. And the dude has a ton of experience. Like you said, he's from a winning team with the
Right.
Kansas City Chiefs. The dude just makes plays. Yes, he gets toasted in coverage a lot of times, but in terms of like his special teams ability,
Hmm.
his leadership ability, the fact that he has a Super Bowl ring, knows what it takes to get there, tons of playoff experience. I mean, he's the kind of signing you make as depth whenever you're a team that's not only competing for playoffs, but also a Super Bowl. In that rare instance that your starting safety goes down, you have a capable backup in Daniel Sorensen who can go in there and play meaningful time and keep you afloat. I'm not saying Daniel Sorensen is going to come out there, be our starting safety, be a Pro Bowler, lead us to the. It's not going to happen. What
Right.
I'm saying is that Daniel Sorensen is a very good signing. If you're not just like a basic fan and you're like a diehard, like you analyze the rosters, all
Right.
this and that, the ins and outs, and like how the NFL really works. You realize
Right.
that as soon as we made that Daniel Sorensen signing, it's not a signing that's going to make him a starter. It's a 1 year incentive
Hmm.
based deal. Um, and it's just one that's you bring it in depth. Dennis Allen's looking to bring in some guys that he thinks might fit his culture
Right.
and things like that. And Daniel Sorensen could be one of those guys. We're more of like a veteran based team. We're not like a young team anymore. We're going after veterans. We're looking for guys who just want to come in and win. And the culture is ever more important now than it ever has been before. And I think Daniel Sorensen's a good guy who could come in. He's a great dude on and off the field. He's just going to come in, he's going to work, and he knows he struggled in the past. He owned up to that in his conference. And, he wants to come and he just wants to work. And he's down to play a little bit of hybrid linebacker, safety, special team, do whatever it takes, similar to Andy Dalton and his press conference as well. The guys that Dennis Allen is bringing in, they understand their role. And I think that's very important because a lot of times you bring in guys and they're just under the impression that they're going to get immediate playing time. And that's how drama starts. And, people want to end up leaving and things of that nature. But the guys Dennis Allen is bringing in understand their role. Daniel Sorensen knew that he's not going to be a starting safety. So
Right.
he understands his role going in. If he gets the chance to play some safety this year, then by all means, that's exceeding his expectations. If he has a good year, you bring him back again. That's kind of what I mean by this is the kind of signings you make if you're going to win a Super Bowl, because they are. You know what I mean? Like you look at Super Bowl rosters and you're seeing like names that all throughout the roster, even if they're not starting.
Right. And speaking about names that we saw the Rams, and I'm a big fan of the way that the Rams and the Bucks move sometimes, because they understand what they have and they understand that you have to have talent on the field, and we'll go into that a little bit later. But they signed Bobby Wagner. That's a name that we know. He's not the Bobby Wagner back in the day, but he's still a valuable player. And just like when they had Vaughn, they only needed one play from Vaughn, and he gave you that play in the playoffs and Super Bowl to make all the difference. So You're talking about safety. We're talking about Daniel Sorensen, and we're still talking about Tyrann Mathieu. This is beginning to feel like the OBJ, or feeling like the Deshaun Watson, like the Saints, and I think it was the Saints and maybe the Philadelphia Eagles are in talks with Mathieu, and they're throwing out all the stops. So I gotta ask you: is Tyrann Mathieu somebody New Orleans Saints fans, should we be expecting him to come? Should we be excited about a potential signing of this valuable piece?
So unlike Deshaun Watson, Odell,
Mm-hmm.
Jarvis, those guys, Jarvis is still on the table, obviously, but unlike those guys, Tyrann Mathieu has been very vocal about wanting to come to the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very vocal. He's been joining podcasts. He's been tweeting
Right,
about it. Like he wants to come to the Saints. It's just
right.
a matter of us pulling the trigger and making it happen. And seeing how aggressive we've been thus far, I don't see any reason why we're not at least, sending an offer. I know we've been in talks with him. I think Albert Breer tweeted that we've been in talks with him and things like that. I'm sure he would be willing to take some sort of hometown discount,
Facts.
and stuff like that. And then obviously he already has chemistry with Daniel Sorensen. They've been on the same team for the past few years, won a ring together. So getting another guy in, obviously Sorensen would be the backup to
Right.
Tyrann Mathieu again, but that's just how it needs to be. I think it would be very beneficial to the Saints to bring in Tyrann Mathieu. Dude's just an impact player, and then you bring in Tyrann Mathieu, and your whole team's elevated. Honestly, Tyrann Mathieu's the kind of guy that you bring in, and then other free agents are like, "Oh shit, look at what New Orleans is brewing up," and then they
Facts.
want to come and they want to join. Um, but yeah, and it's just one of those things where I could easily see Tyrann Mathieu waiting. There's always that one big name every year that waits until after the draft to sign, and it could
Mhm.
very well be Tyrann Mathieu. He may want to see what Saints do in the draft, and I feel like if we're still talking about Tyrann Mathieu to the Saints around the draft, and we don't draft a safety, I think it's a done deal that he comes to New Orleans. Um, and I think that's kind of where that lies. But I'm definitely interested to see what's up with Tyrann Mathieu. I think the Saints definitely have a strong shot. I don't see any other team that Tyrann Mathieu would necessarily be interested in terms of
Mhm.
like coming in and not just starting, or he would start with whatever team he was on, obviously, but coming
Facts.
in and like straight up just competing to
Mhm.
like win a Super Bowl, make it to the playoffs. Like Tom Brady, who knows how much longer he has. The Saints are going to be on top of the division again soon. Jameis is going to ball out. So I can't think of a better replacement for Malcolm Jenkins than Tyrann Mathieu.
Hmm.
It's kind of an upgrade, if you ask me, honestly.
Yeah, it's an upgrade. You, that valuable leadership. I don't think he fits into the, for lack of a better word, the swagger with the New Orleans Saints defense. So I think it fits. I think it's a great fit. But we kind of got to talk about Dennis Allen and his philosophy, and then that kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about with Tyrann Mathieu and Jarvis Landry and OBJ in the past. So, and we maybe OBJ in the future as well. But like, okay, so Dennis Allen, Saints fans have been online, and I've had a couple of conversations with different fans. How should I say this? It depends on how you feel about the New Orleans Saints. If you believe that they are still that Super Bowl team from 2018 and 2019 and it just slipped away and they're still close, then okay. But then there's another side of us that believe that the New Orleans Saints are rebuilding and we're setting up things not just for this season but the future. So I've been talking about, and this has been coming from my Twitter, I personally feel like the New Orleans Saints are not that far away. I believe that the New Orleans Saints can make big moves into the in the offseason to get us over the hill. Jameis Winston has shown that he's capable of taking the New Orleans Saints to the Super Bowl. But I got to respond by saying that a lot of people have come back with me. Well, the New Orleans Saints can rely on the draft. They can hit it in the draft and instead of going for these big splash moves. And Dennis Allen kind of backed that statement up by saying, hey, we're not always here for the splash players. We're kind of here to look at the draft or those those diamonds in the rough kind of players when you think about Demario Davis and things like that. I gotta ask you, I kind of disagree with that opinion just a little bit, but I gotta ask you, how do you feel about the Dennis Allen kind of philosophy and statement he put out this week?
Yeah, I think he's doing a lot more of both. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think he's like straight up just saying no, we're building for the future. I don't think he's straight up just saying no, we're not contending now. I think he's literally doing a little bit of both. If you look at the way the roster is laid out right now, like you look at our quarterback room to start. I mean, we have a veteran and a veteran. And then we have a young guy who's not going to play. And then we have our running back room, veteran, 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 and then probably a rookie. And then you look at, like you just go down our roster, it's all veterans, even our receiving class, veteran, 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 veteran. Like our whole
Mhm.
team, bro, it's just all vets. You know what I mean? Like there's not really any truly too many young guys. We have a handful, like maybe like the past couple years draft class, but even like Chauncey is now like in that veteran range. Like these guys are like, they have years of experience under them now. Like Chauncey, I think he's going into his third or fourth year. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like already. And it's just crazy. And so you look at our roster and the way it's laying out, and then you look at our offseason moves, bringing in Andy Dalton as a
Right.
backup veteran quarterback who understands his role. Daniel Sorensen, a veteran backup safety who understands his role. You look at those kind of moves and you're just like, okay, well, if we were building for the future, we would be selling. Who are the Saints selling? Nobody. If we were building for the future, Michael Thomas is out the door. Alvin Kamara, he's gone already. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Marshawn Lattimore, you could potentially weigh that option. He's probably gone. The Saints are still bought into the culture. We're not anything. We're a little bit of both, if anything. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because I guarantee you, if the Saints were rebuilding, they are not dealing with the Michael Thomas bullshit anymore. They're not dealing with Alvin Kamara's potential legal issues. They're not dealing with any of it. They're just starting from scratch. They're going to do what the Texans did. They're going to roll with Mark Ingram as the starting running back. We're going to have good old Andy Dalton under center. It's going to be great. We're just going to chop it up.
Right. Right.
That's what the Saints would look like if we were rebuilding. It would look similar to that like 2016 team whenever we had Drew Brees with like Tim Hightower in the back in the backfield with Mark Ingram, and then we had Kyrie Robinson and those dudes. That's what
Yeah.
our team would look like.
Don't bring those times up. That's
Yeah,
torture. Yeah.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's kind of now the listeners will understand that we are very much not rebuilding. We are very much still in this now. However, after Jameis's 2 years are up, if we're still in the same spot, that's whenever we could, just tear it down. You know what I mean? I think this upcoming season and the year after will tell a lot in terms of the future of the Saints. But if we make the playoffs this upcoming year, pedal to the metal. We're still going, baby.
Right. And let me ask you, because you brought it up and we talked about it before the show. And I wasn't even going to make a big deal out of it. I just thought it was a decent signing, a good signing. But we got to talk about it. Andy Dalton signed as most likely the backup quarterback. You stated it was a great move. I've seen other people say it's a great move. We all kind of like it. But why do you like it?
I was big on Andy Dalton going into last year. I really was. I think I wrote several articles about it. I've just always loved Andy Dalton. I don't know if it's because we share red hair. I don't know, man, but
I think that's
uh,
what I definitely think that's what it is.
yeah, it has to be. But
Mhm.
no, like for real though, like if you look outside the numbers and like if you just cut the tape on Andy Dalton, he's got one heck of an arm. He can make those crazy downfield passes. He also does struggle with turnovers
Mhm.
and decision making at times, but he's just a dude that you can just plug in and you're going to get a solid start out of him week in and week out. He's not going to put up crazy numbers. He's not going to, be Nathan Peterman 6 picks type of numbers either. He's going to go out there. He's going to give you a solid start week in and week out.
Mhm.
He's a perfect spot starter. And the thing I love the most is this is the first time in Andy Dalton's career that he's not competing for a starting job. He's brought in as the veteran backup. He understands his role. In his press conference, he specifically said, "This is Jameis's thing. I'm just here to help him any way I can." And the fact that, it takes pressure off of Jameis to not have to prove himself in terms of like having to compete for the starting job. Like everybody in the building knows that Jameis is the go-to guy. And then Andy Dalton's able to, they're able to bounce ideas off of each other. Andy
Right.
Dalton, a lot of people forget, has played for the Bengals. He's played for the Cowboys, the Bears. And I think he played for one more, didn't he? No, maybe not. I think that's it. He's played for at least three different
At least
teams.
three different. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, at least three different teams. So that's three different playbooks he's been a part of. That's three different cultures. That's three different, you know, groups of connections he's been able to make. And, that helps with a bunch of different things, free agent recruiting, things like that. And Andy Dalton's a smart dude. He's always I looked back at like some of his like super, super old stuff. And
Right.
I remember he said that if he wasn't playing football, he'd be a coach. And that's like this is like kind of how that starts, like a Josh McCown type. You're back up for a little bit, you help out a quarterback, You know, it reminds me a lot. I know it's been said a couple times, but like it reminds me a lot of the Mark Brunell signing back whenever we got Drew Brees, and
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
Brunell came into town and was the backup for Drew Brees, and we went to the Super Bowl, all
Right.
of that good stuff. It reminds me a lot of that because Andy Dalton's just able to just help out. You know, he's just able to, like I said, if anything happens to Jameis, I'm comfortable with Andy Dalton under center a lot more than I would be with Ian Book or, God forbid, Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill. You brought it up, and it hurts me because I was a Taysom guy 2 years ago, not last year. I was a Taysom guy. I was excited for what he could do when we didn't have a large sample size. Dennis Allen put it to rest. Taysom Hill is a tight end. That is where he could do his. That's where he could do his damage, though. Like Taysom. I looked at his highlights as a tight end. He made some incredible catches. Like he
He's a
really
dog.
is like that player that you can just stick in and he can make plays. Because I was looking at some of his catches. Those aren't just the quarterback running routes and catching passes kind of throws. He was catching contested balls and making big plays, running people over. So I'm excited to see Taysom Hill at tight end. And I gotta ask you, how did you feel about the Taysom Hill experiment last year and transitioning? How do you feel about his decision to keep him strictly tight end? Do you want to see him like come in at quarterback just some plays and maybe take off and scramble as a QB draw or something?
No, absolutely not. No, I don't want him touching the ball unless he's catching it. Yeah, no.
Right.
Because it's so obvious what he's gonna do. And like, I mean, he's good at it,
Yeah, he's
like he's
good.
yeah, I mean, he's all right, like $150 million, all right, no big deal. Whatever he gets paid. I don't even know. I don't even want to think about it. But um it's kind of funny. I was talking about it with some of my work buddies,
Mhm.
and it one of them mentioned to me, he was just like, "This is like the money that Jimmy Graham wanted years ago from the Saints, but never got. Instead, we just gave it to Taysom Hill." And it's just like, damn, thinking about that, like that's kind of crazy. But yeah, Taysom Hill, he does make like all of those catches. He makes everything. He's very versatile. And it's good. We'll probably see him on special teams again. That was my favorite Taysom whenever he was going and blocking punts and running down on kickoff and returning the punts sometimes and kicks. That was great. So we'll probably see a little bit more of that. But I think Taysom Hill being able to focus on one position is very good because for not only Taysom Hill, but for the Saints, simply because it just allows him to excel in one area. He doesn't need to learn how to be being a quarterback in the NFL is very, very hard. Very, very hard. I
It's
don't
the
have
hardest position in sports, easily.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it's gotta be. I have no experience with it, but, it's gotta be very hard,
Right,
I would imagine,
right.
especially as Sean Payton ran offense. Now it's Dennis Allen, obviously, but I don't
Hmm.
think the playbook's gonna be that much different. Um, but just allowing Taysom Hill to not have to worry about playing quarterback at all and just focus on tight end. He's
Hmm.
automatically our second best receiving option on the offensive side of the ball. If you exclude Alvin Kamara, he's our second best receiving option.
Right.
Because I mean, right now you got Michael Thomas and then a whole bunch of should be number threes or fours. So yeah, I think I love the move to just keep him as a tight end. I love that we're not just like flat out releasing him. I love that we're giving him a chance to prove himself again, um, as a tight end again, because that's where he is the best. That's where he's most beneficial to the Saints. And yeah, I'm just excited. I'm excited for him to have a full season as a tight end. Hopefully he can stay healthy. And I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to the occasional QB draw that he
Hmm.
fakes, but he's got to fake the draw this time and then just throw it to Deontay, and then we're gonna see what happens there. Because if he starts throwing it again, then we gotta chop it up on the old black and gold hour pod and talk about how
Yeah.
Taysom should be the quarterback.
And even with the throw to Deontay, like it's got to be a good. It can't be underthrown. See, there's a lot of things that when he gets to throwing that happen. But I gotta ask you, bro. You brought it up, and I just thought about it. Who do you think was more impactful to their Saints team? Like, was it Taysom or Jimmy Graham? Like, who was more impactful? Not
Jimmy,
like who was the better player, but like who was more impactful to the team?
Jimmy, 100% Jimmy.
Jimmy
'Cause
Graham.
if you remember back then, Jimmy was like untouchable, man.
Look, it was
Jimmy,
him and Gronk, and I was like
yeah,
arguing like Jimmy. If Jimmy stayed on that path, we would talk about him in the same likeness as Gronk. That Darren Sproles and Jimmy Graham combination. I got Dada saying, please, no more Taysom at QB, please. And he
yeah.
agreed. you, bro. So, and I think a lot of Saints fans feel the same way. But bro, I gotta ask you about another signing that was confirmed today. Everybody's favorite wide receiver, Treyquan Smith.
I love Treyquan Smith, man. I know everybody hates him, but I love him. He's a physical
Right.
receiver who can block. I think I tweeted it out the other day. He's got 112 catches in his career. Been very injury plagued, so 112 is not bad. He's
Right.
just like a solid 3, you know. And 89 of them are for first downs. So like he's almost always catching. Like every catch he gets is almost guaranteed to be a first down. So that's good. You always got to move the sticks. But yeah, he's just a physical receiver who can block. He's like Brandon Coleman. He's like Krishawn Hogan. I mean, every team needs a guy who can just go out there and just block. And that's Treyquan. You're always going to have a place in the NFL. You're always going to have a spot on an NFL roster if you can block
Mm-hmm.
as a receiver. It just happens. Yeah, and that's what I love about him. I mean, especially considering we don't know what our offensive line's really going to look like quite yet, especially at the other tackle spot. um, which is a whole nother thing we need to talk about
Right.
eventually. But yeah, and so having if you could pin a receiver on that side that can block, and Treyquan Smith, a very physical receiver who can make incredible catches, but can't make the easy ones. I'll take making an incredible catch over an easy one. We'll just tell James to throw it in the double coverage over to Treyquan, and it'll be just fine. But yeah, I love it. I really do. I think he is the kind of depth that we need. I would obviously still love to see us go out and get a Jarvis or an Odell
Mm-hmm.
or a Chris Olave or literally anybody else that has some speed and can route run would be preferred.
It
But
the thing is, like, I think with Saints fans are they just want anybody. Like, we're at that point where we've seen this wide receiver group for 2-3 years, and it's like, look, at this point we need more, and you're gonna need more. No matter if Michael Thomas comes back and he's offensive player of the year form still, it's you need more. I mean, Alvin Kamara is gonna be out at least 6 games from what we're hearing, so we're gonna need some playmakers. Jameis is not that quarterback that can just elevate anybody. He needs people around him to elevate his game as well as and kind of be that iron versus sharpening iron type thing. So I agree with the Dennis Allen philosophy, but on the offensive end, I do agree that you do have to be aggressive. You have to be very aggressive. Now with the defense has a strong core where I believe adding small pieces to the draft are essential. But when we think about the offense, we just lost Teron Armstead, took his talents to South Beach. So, like, I don't even know what the Saints do at tackle at this point. I'm seeing them talk about moving players around. You got any ideas what you think about the New Orleans Saints and the offensive line?
yeah, and I hate to say it, but probably Andrus Peat's a good candidate to move to the outside. Simply because that's what he did in college, and maybe he'll be
Right.
better as a tackle than a guard. Playing guard's a lot harder than playing tackle.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like. I mean, I played both in high school, and I thought playing guard was a lot harder because you had to run and shit, and I didn't
Mm-hmm.
like that. But uh, yeah, we'll probably address it during the draft. That's probably what Dennis Allen's more referring to, is probably addressing more offensive side of the
Mm-hmm.
ball in the draft. I think that's a lot of what that comment was focusing on. I think people are concerned with like the fact that we haven't signed a receiver and that we haven't addressed our offensive tackle needs and things like that. I think that's where Dennis Allen's statement of, yeah, we're focusing on the draft comes from. I still think we're in the mix for Honey Badger in terms of the defensive side of the ball. And even though he says we're not like necessarily going out there to make big plays, his actions this offseason has proven otherwise in terms of like going after Deshaun and being
The
in
big
the
play.
mix for Jarvis. And now we're in the mix for Honey Badger. Like he's in the mix for all of these dudes, but he's saying we're not going after big names. So it doesn't make sense. But we are. We are. Don't worry, Saints fans. We're going after him.
Right. And I think that's what Dennis Allen was trying to say. He said, look forward to the draft, relax. We're being aggressive behind the scenes. The Saints are doing all they can to make sure the New Orleans Saints remain a contender. And I think that's what's most important to Saints fans. Just they don't want to go through a rebuild, especially after these last 5 years. We feel like, man, it would suck to be so close. The last even last year going 9-8 with your starting QB out and just one Matt Stafford interception away from actually going to the playoffs. Like this team is so close, but we got to relax. every week, I'm like every day I'm checking my phone, and I'm excited to see what we see today. Hopefully something big news today, good news, but we'll see. But we got to relax. We got to stay calm. It's a lot of off season left. So that's what Dennis Allen was saying, and that's what I'm going to say. And I guess that's what my boy Mike is going to say. But thank you guys for listening. Before we go, I always like to throw in some encouragement for today. And this one came to me. I was watching an interview with Jay Shetty, the mental health content creator, and he was with Big Sean. And he was talking about passion. And so many of us go through life. We work, we might go to school, we exercise, but when you talk to us, we don't have a lot of passion. We don't know like what's next up in life. And one thing I heard that really stuck with me is you don't know what you like until you try it. So, for example, I found out that I really like, walking through the woods, hiking type things. It's really relaxing for me. But it took me going once. And I was like, this is kind of weird. It's mosquitoes and everything like that. It took me going once to figure out I like it. It took me, doing a podcast once. And now it's been almost 2 years of the Black and Gold Hour podcast. It took me reaching out to my guy, Mike, to be like, oh, this is my bro. And now I have a lifelong friend. So to discover what you're passionate about, what you like in life, what's next for you, you just got to try different things. Like try it all, it's kind of like food. Like if you have a certain food you like and you try something new, now you got a new favorite restaurant for the whole year that you're going to burn through. So that's my advice. Definitely be open to learning new things, open to new experiences. And that's kind of what's been on my mind all week ever since I heard it. And I definitely wanted to share it with you guys because I definitely want to just help us grow the community, not just as far as learning football, but also about life as well. But thank you guys for watching. Appreciate my boy Mike for coming on. He'll be back, of course, and we're going to keep this thing moving. But thank you guys for watching the Black and Gold Hour podcast. Peace.
Peace.